Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things giallo here on The King in Giallo. We are continuing our coverage for the second giallo film from Aldo Lado, Who Saw Her Die, released in 1972. In this video, I will give you a condensed version of the full-length overview video, covering only the cast and crew and the plot of the movie. Then I'll transition into the GialliTally. The GialliTally will contain heavy spoilers. Here is Who Saw Her Die overview. Who Saw Her Die, or Chi l'ha vista morire, is an Italian and West German co-production directed by Aldo Lado, who also co-wrote the film along with Francesco Barilli and Massimo D'Avak. Music is composed by the maestro Ennio Morricone. The cast is comprised of George Lazenby as Franco Serpieri, Anita Strindberg as Elizabeth Serpieri, Adolfo Celi as Serafian, Nicoletta Elmi as Roberta Serpieri, Dominique Boschero as Ginevra Storelli, Peter Chatel as Philip Vernon, Piero Vida as journalist Kuman, Jose Quaglio as Bonaiuti, and Alessandro Haber as Father James. The plot begins as Roberta travels to Venice to stay with her father, Franco. When she vanishes and is later discovered murdered, both Franco and his estranged wife, Elizabeth, are shattered. As it becomes clear that the authorities are making little progress, the grieving parents take matters into their own hands. Franco's search pulls him deeper into a sordid underworld of lust and corruption until it brings him face to face with the killer. But I digress. On to the GialliTally. Spoilers ahead for those of you who haven't yet seen the film. You've been warned. My prediction for the movie's GialliTally score. In my unscripted review video, I predicted around 600 to 650 points. Well, let's begin the GialliTally portion of the video, beginning as always with the previewing cliches. The repeat offenders are 1 point for actor, 3 for writer, 3 for composer, and 5 for director. Anita Strindberg was in The Two Faces of Fear, The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, and A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, 3 points. Adolfo Celi was in Who Killed the Prosecutor and Why, and Eye in the Labyrinth, 2 points. Dominique Boschero was in All the Colors of the Dark, The Iguana with the Tongue of Fire, and Libido, 3 points. Piero Vida was in Short Night of Glass Dolls, 1 point. Jose Quaglio was in Short Night of Glass Dolls, 1 point. Nicoletta Elmi was in A Bay of Blood, 1 point. Aldo Lado wrote Short Night of Glass Dolls and The Designated Victim, 6 points. Massimo D'Avak wrote So Sweet, So Perverse and Dark Purpose, 6 points. Rüdiger von Spies wrote for Short Night of Glass Dolls, 3 points. Ennio Morricone composed Devil in the Brain, What Have You Done to Solange, My Dear Killer, Four Flies on Grey Velvet, Short Night of Glass Dolls, The Black Belly of the Tarantula, The Fifth Chord, The Cold Eyes of Fear, A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, The Cat o' Nine Tails, The Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Vergogna Schifosi, and A Quiet Place in the Country, 42 points. And Aldo Lado directed Short Night of Glass Dolls, 5 points. Cliché points for the title, Who Saw Her Die, contains the word die, and the title is a question, 5 plus 5, 10 points. First look, 25 points for the Italian director, 15 points for the movie releasing during the golden age of giallo cinema, and 15 points for this being a quintessential giallo film. And would you look at that, it is plot o'clock. We begin with a vanity card and then see the French Alps with opening credits. Foreign locales, McGee, France, 5 points. C is for children, 5 points. We watch a child and presumably her mother, played by Dominique Boschero, in the snow. The redhead girl sleds off, but is watched by a veiled prowler. First person POV, 5 points. The figure stalks closer. The girl is grabbed and pulled away. G is for gloves, extra points for black gloves, 10 points. The girl is beaten with a rock. Extra points for C is for children, for a child being killed, 5 more points. The feminine figure haphazardly buries the child under the snow. The woman approaches and discovers the unthinkable. The title card. The rest of the credits play over crime scene photos accompanied by Morricone's incredible theme. We jump forward several years later to Venice. Airplane scene, 2 points. This is Franco. There's this wonderful bit where we follow this beautiful young woman off the plane, assuming this is Franco's girlfriend, only to find that he is actually meeting his daughter. This is Roberta. Animals featured, pigeons, 2 points. Italian locales, Venice, 3 points. Urban locales, 2 points. T is for telephone, 5 points. Roberta's mother, Elizabeth, calls. Franco only has seconds to make small talk. Roberta tells her mother that she thinks Papa is hurt that she didn't come to Venice as well. Cut to Roberta playing a pinball machine, which IMDb says is a 1967 Harmony, electromechanical machine made by D. Gottlieb and Company. We pan over to find Franco talking with his journalist friend Kuman. Art featured, 5 points. By the way, I am not counting this drawing as nudity, but I see it. Kuman and Franco chat about the future for Venice. They are joined by Roberta and Philip, whom Kuman mentions he'd heard that Philip has joined Serafian's entourage. Philip appears to have a menser scar, which he states was from fencing. The group is spied upon by this suspicious fellow. Franco and Roberta are enjoying their time together when they are joined by Father James. P is for priest, 5 points. Father James sings Franco's praises for his artistry, and Franco says he will submit some sketches for a charity sale. Cut to Roberta looking at old photos of her mother on a projector. The door rings, and she lets in Kuman. He waits for Franco while doting over Roberta. This beat is masterfully set up in terms of it being on the fence for being innocent, but also creepy. Franco enters, and Kuman asks about why Elizabeth didn't come too. Kuman tells Franco that Serafian has returned from Beirut and that Gabriella had asked about him and that he should call her. But Franco says that he can't, with Roberta visiting. Later, we watch Roberta order an ice cream from a shop. She is being watched by the same killer from years ago. E is for eyeballs, 5 points. The killer scouts the alleyways. They are alone. They approach. Closer. But Franco surprises his little girl at the last second. This scene demonstrates the first instance of Franco not being attentive to his daughter's whereabouts, something which he will come to regret. The next day, an ominous fog has rolled into Venice. The two are greeted at the door by this woman, Ginevra. They pass Philip, who was just speaking with Serafian. Franco is warned that he is more stingy this morning. Franco sits with his manager, Serafian, and discusses his art pieces and a future showing in Paris. Roberta wanders. She comes upon Philip and Ginevra arguing, with Philip reminding her that she's the only woman he wants. Serafian hands over a check for Franco's pieces which were sold in Beirut, and we close out the scene with Serafian gifting Roberta an astrological necklace for her zodiac sign, Aquarius. Cut to Roberta playing hopscotch with another girl. They are being watched by the killer. The killer stalks closer. The other girl is picked up, and Roberta is left alone. The killer stalks even closer. Suddenly, Roberta is called to follow them. At a restaurant now, we receive this charming bit with the two as Franco pretends to call up Roberta to take her out dancing. The connection between the two actors is incredible. Their moment is being spied upon by the killer outside. Later, the two are walking home when Roberta sees a group of children playing and asks to join them. Initially resistant, Franco changes his mind when he sees his local fling, Gabriella. Franco leaves his daughter to play as he goes home to hook up. The kids spin around Roberta, singing the nursery rhyme which is used as the foundation for the theme of the movie. We see Franco and Gabriella in bed. Despite them being naked, we don't actually see anything here. As the kids continue, the killer stalks towards them. After sex, Franco kicks out Gabriella so Roberta doesn't see her. N is for nudity, 5 points. I is for infidelity, 5 points. You know, technically, Franco is not divorced. His wife and him are in an estrangement. Gabriella is upset, stating that she's in love with Franco. Night rolls in, the kids play keep away with Roberta's necklace and then all run off, leaving her alone in the courtyard. The killer takes the opportunity and pounces. Cut to Franco sculpting his next creation. Extra points for art for it being central to the plot. Another 5 points. Franco takes hours before he realizes, oh shit, where's my daughter? He calls out to her, but receives no response. He inquires about her at the home of one of the children. Q is for questions, 5 points. The little girl supposes she's at Claudio's house. Claudio's folks tell Franco that he's playing basketball at the youth group. Franco finds Claudio and asks him about Roberta, but he says he doesn't know her. L is for lies, 5 points. Franco notices that Claudio has Roberta's Aquarius necklace and calls him out on it. This causes a tussle, which is broken up by Father James. Claudio says that Roberta had said that she was going home. Father James convinces Franco that she's probably home now waiting for him. Feeling assured, he returns home. Outside, he hears a girl's voice, but when he enters, it is only the television. Z is for Zoom, 5 points. Later, Franco receives a call from an inspector who relays that there is no new information on Roberta's whereabouts. Y is for yelling, 5 points. Later, during the hustle and bustle of day-to-day life among the canals, Roberta's lifeless body is seen bobbing in the water. The discovery shocks all. We are at a funeral now. Funeral scene, 2 points. Elizabeth is here. Cumin asks Police Commissioner De Donato about an investigation, and he says with some luck they will catch him, but Cumin retorts that he doubts the police could even catch pneumonia. The boat pulls out into the lagoon. Cut to Franco losing his mind and destroying his recent sculpture. Elizabeth tries to restrain him, stating the blame is equally on her for not being here. Extra points for Y is for yelling for a hysterical woman yelling. 5 more points. She says they must help each other to be strong. We find the couple in bed after sex. Through some awkward flashbacks, we see that the couple is trying desperately to rekindle some form of connection through their shared grief. Aardvarking, 10 points. At the printing press, Cumin tells the couple about a similar child murder case the year prior. He believes there is a connection. Marinella Marcassini went missing for 2 days and was found dead in a river. The victim was also a redhead. By the way, this makes 3 murders total that we now know of. A witness stated that they saw the girl last speaking with an old woman clad entirely in black with a veil over her face. Neither case included sexual abuse. At a glassworks now, the couple speaks with the father from the Marcassini case. He says there's nothing more to say, as nothing will bring back his little girl. He excuses himself and returns to work, but as the couple exit, Franco observes the man calling someone on the phone. Franco expresses to Elizabeth that he's sure that they're on the right path because that man clearly knew more than he was letting on. He leaves the keys with her and proceeds to his next lead. At this villa, Franco finds an odd man shooting at pigeons and inquires about the Marcassini family who had once lived here. The man insists that they play a game of ping pong before he gives any answers. They begin, and the man starts talking. He says the family left after the mother went mad, claiming she was seeing her daughter's ghost. The father was also out of work at this time, but his lawyer, Bonaiuti, helped him get back on his feet and helped get the mother help. Bonaiuti is said to have money, but he fancies little girls. The man says that he doesn't know much else because he was abroad when the murder occurred. Franco leaves. Exposition dumping, 2 points. Cut to Elizabeth with Father James, who has been giving her guidance and counseling. Cut then again to Philip and Ginevra. She tells him that she wants to get away from Serafian, and he is overjoyed at this. He says it won't be easy to skip town on Serafian, but she expresses that it will be worth it, and undresses. Philip gets undressed as well. The two get hot and heavy. Necking, 5 points. Later, we see them walking along the canal as Philip warns Ginevra that what she is doing will be dangerous. I like his attire here, so F is for fashion, 5 points. Philip refers to Serafian as an old lech, stating he won't let her leave so easily, and that she must not be rash, lest the two reveal their intentions. Franco has memories of Roberta as he waits to speak to someone. In the other room, he overhears an argument about Ginevra not belonging to Serafian. He sees this man on Lofstrin crutches exit. Serafian enters from behind through the bookcases. He embraces Franco, saying Bonaiuti had told him the grim news. Serafian offers any help, but Franco states he's numb and he can only think about the killer. Serafian invites Franco to Beirut with him, but he declines. Franco speaks now with Bonaiuti, the strange man we saw earlier spying on Franco and Roberta. Bonaiuti knows Franco wanted to question him regarding his interest in the Marcazzini murder case, and he says his reason was philanthropic. His wealth grants him the ability to help whomever he'd like. He says he learned about Franco's case recently from Philip. Franco calls out Bonaiuti for his sex crimes, which infuriates him. Bonaiuti kicks out Franco. Notice how Bonaiuti has a similar necklace in hand to the one Roberta was given by Serafian. Bonaiuti checks outside and notices the handicapped gentleman watching him from a table. At a bar, Franco tries to call Inspector De Donato, but he is out. Next, he calls Elizabeth. He asks about whether Cumin had come by and says if he does, to have him wait for him. Franco notices Bonaiuti outside standing over the table where the handicapped man was sitting earlier. He hangs up and follows. At home, Elizabeth seems to suspect that she is not alone. Franco follows Bonaiuti through the city. At the house, we watch as a gloved figure plugs the bathtub drain and draws hot water. They move unseen through the house. Elizabeth grabs a pocket knife. K is for knives, 5 points. Elizabeth enters the bathroom and sees the water filling up. Suddenly, an older woman appears and Elizabeth screams. Cumin arrives. The woman appears to just be a housekeeper. Franco follows Bonaiuti into a building. Upstairs, he finds people fencing. As the two walk in, we hear Bonaiuti tell Philip that he has arranged 2 tickets for him, and Philip thanks him. Franco pretends that he just wandered in and is curious about fencing. Philip finds out that the 2 men have already met. Bonaiuti seems to be on to Franco. It turns out Ginevra is one of the fencers. Philip tells Bonaiuti that he will see him later tonight. Ginevra tells Franco that they must meet later at the cinema, for she has something vital she must disclose to him. Someone is seen to be watching Franco and Ginevra from behind a curtain. Franco meets Elizabeth and Cumin and informs them that he cannot come home yet because he is on to something. Elizabeth says that she cannot bear this. She loves Franco, but he says he must continue, and he departs. Ginevra enters a cinema and waits for Franco. Gratuitous 1970s dancing, extra for being naked. 5 points. We see the killer enter as well. They stalk down the aisle and sit right behind Ginevra. Franco enters the cinema now, but he is too late. The killer takes a scarf and strangles Ginevra. And luckily for them, this must be a damn good movie because despite the theater not having raked seating, nobody sees this happening. She dies. Franco sits next to Ginevra and notices that she is dead. He tries to grab the killer, but they flee out the theater. A woman screams. The audience erupts into pandemonium. Fun fact, this is giallo actor Lou Castel, famously from Orgasmo, here in an uncredited role. We cut to the crime scene. De Donato tells Franco not to get involved and to give any information he has over to the police so they can handle the case. He warns Franco to take this murder as an indicator as to why he shouldn't get involved. W is for witness. 5 points. Franco surprises Bonaiuti at his office, demanding to know who killed Ginevra last night. He claims she was killed with the cord of this same pendant that Bonaiuti has. But he responds that this is Aries, and Virgo is his sign. He claims his necklace is on his desk, and he finds it and shows Franco. Franco claims Bonaiuti is connected to all of this. He knew the Marcazzini family, and he knew Ginevra, but Bonaiuti says that he did not know the family and barely knew Ginevra. She had asked him to help the family after she'd read about it in the papers. Franco says that Ginevra became rich upon arriving in Venice and asks if this is related to Serafian. Bonaiuti tells Franco to ask Serafian himself, but this earns him a good backhand. We see someone spying on this encounter as Bonaiuti reveals that Ginevra was one of Serafian's mistresses and that he is a cruel, cruel man. Franco exits, and once alone, Bonaiuti unlocks a hidden vault and retrieves a letter of intent from Ginevra and opens it. It is a newspaper clipping related to the murder of the first girl, Nicole. He reads it and reseals it in a manila envelope. The addressee we cannot see, but he uses blotting paper to dry it off. This piece of blotting paper retains a copy of the addressee's name and is left on his desk. We watch as Bonaiuti packs a bag and asks Philip to do him a favor. Later, Elizabeth meets with Cumin to drop off Franco's house keys. She says she must leave. Franco is too obsessed. Good point. O is for obsession. Extra points for the amateur sleuth being obsessed. 10 points. Cumin suggests that she leave as she wishes, but keep the set of keys in case she changes her mind and returns. Cut to Serafian apologizing to De Donato for being of little help to the investigation. He hands over 2 tickets from the travel agency. One is for Ginevra, the other is for Francois Roussel. He asks who that is, but Serafian claims to not know. Serafian continues to claim ignorance regarding the trip or how Ginevra had acquired such money. He also asserts that the claims that Ginevra is his mistress are baseless accusations. The inspector exits before stopping to ask whether Serafian recognizes the red-headed woman in this locket found on Ginevra's body. But again, he knows nothing. Odd clue, 5 points. Cut to Franco snooping around a darkened office. He finds some papers and then some glass syringes. A sound in the other room alerts him. He peruses the space but finds nothing. He is distracted by some nudie posters and then is accosted and knocked out. Cut back to Bonaiuti, who seems ready to depart Venice. He states he doesn't want anyone to know that he is leaving. His butler Andrea takes his bags and leaves. Bonaiuti makes a call to Philip, but the machine picks up. It is revealed that Bonaiuti is not alone. Franco awakens and finds one of the pendants next to him and recalls Serafian, Philip, and Bonaiuti. Back at the office, the killer locks the office door. Close up on a door handle, 5 points. They attack Bonaiuti, who cowers backward. The killer's identity is hidden due to the framing and editing, 2 points. The killer clutches a pair of scissors and moves in for the kill. Extra points for K is for knives, for the blade reflecting the light. 5 more points. I know it's not technically a knife, but it is a blade. Bonaiuti is stabbed repeatedly and falls to the floor. The killer opens the bird cage and searches the office for something. They find the blotting paper, and we can finally see who the addressee is. Franco. Franco washes up. We follow Serafian as he walks through Venice and ends up at the wharf. He boards a ship, instructing the worker, if asked, he didn't see him. Franco steps into a shop and inquires about Serafian's whereabouts and is told that he went to the wharf earlier. Father James enters and asks about the sketches Franco was donating, but he doesn't have time for this right now and exits. Franco is observed leaving, and this man begins to make a call. Franco approaches the same ship and inquires about Serafian, but the man follows his orders and says he hasn't seen him. But Franco spies Serafian's cane sitting in a boat shipside. He leaves, and Serafian watches as he disappears, whilst being followed. Franco passes through this abandoned building, but he is not alone. Serafian observes Franco from the courtyard and, once spotted, leaves. Franco goes to pursue him, but passes the man on the crutches. The killer follows behind Franco. Serafian looks on as Franco is pushed through a hole in the floor. He manages to grab onto a rebar. The killer tries to stomp his grip, but Franco swings to the next floor. Franco chases the man down. Foot chase, 5 points. The killer slashes him with a sword, but he is shot at and flees. Franco's savior is the man on crutches. Elizabeth arrives at a bus terminal. She's returned. On the bus, she finds Kuman. She says that she'd thought about what he'd said, and so she's back. Franco doesn't know. It's a surprise. The handicapped man leads Franco into his room in an abandoned building. We find out his name is Francois Roussel. Francois says he is the son of Ginevra. Franco finds out that Francois was the one who knocked him out, which he admits to, asserting, well, he'd thought Franco was one of them. He was looking for his mother's murderer. He says all he found was this, and turns on a projector. The film shows Serafian and Bonaiuti in a suggestive Bob Crane sort of videotape as Ginevra joins them. An unseen fourth person watches them in a chair. V is for voyeur, 5 points. Francois claims this is the man they are all protecting, the murderer. BDSM scene, 7 points. Franco points out that Ginevra had enough blackmail on all of the men. The unseen man now shoots up. Illicit drugs taken, 5 points. Francois says he'd met Serafian before and was introduced as a friend of Ginevra, and Serafian even gave him a job. Franco supposes that the man in the chair could be Philip. Only Serafian and Bonaiuti would know, but since Serafian is in hiding, they call up Bonaiuti. Cut to Kuman telling Franco over the phone that Bonaiuti is dead and to get out now while he's ahead, and that Elizabeth is back. We cut to a scene in which we hear Serafian talking to the killer, who claims that they had felt compelled to kill Ginevra because of what she was going to tell Franco. Serafian threatens that there's no time for the killer to get the letter back and that he will lock him up to prevent him from further killing. Franco sneaks in, hears the killer confessing, and grabs a statuette. The killer says that he killed the girls because they had red hair like his mother, and it was to prevent them from growing up and becoming whores, as he says, like his mother. He saved them so they'd remain pure. The confession turns out to be a tape recording. Audio recording device, 5 points. In the reflection, Franco watches a closet door slide open, revealing Serafian murdered. Mirror being used beyond its natural purpose, 2 points. Betrayal by the killer, 5 points. On Serafian's body is the same locket with the red-headed woman, presumably Serafian's mother, as well as the killer's. Franco is attacked. It is Philip. Franco accuses Philip of being the killer, that he killed Ginevra because she was blackmailing him, but Philip says the killer is Serafian's brother, and he killed Bonaiuti because of the letter. Franco asks what's in the letter, but Philip claims he doesn't know, but that it was sent to Franco's home. The fight ends with Philip running away. We watch as Elizabeth comes home and checks the mail. She is being watched. The wind blows a door open, which unleashes a sliver of light, allowing her to see the killer's shoes hiding in the shadows. Elizabeth tries to hide, but the killer closes in. She circles the car, trying to keep it between them, but can only keep this up for so long. She gets away, but the killer pursues. Elizabeth runs to the elevator just in time. The killer manages to be present every level down she goes, but she beats them to the ground floor and runs out and into the church, where she calls out to Father James. A man, a groundskeeper I presume, tells Elizabeth that Father James went to the hospital to tend to a baby who died of meningitis. She is told to wait here for his return. Outside his house, Franco finds Elizabeth's purse, which she had dropped. Her keys are in the door. Suddenly, Franco has a flashback of the red-headed woman in the locket and finds a cane on the floor, which he recalls seeing Father James holding when he saw him last at the shop. Franco runs to find Elizabeth. In the church, we see the killer stalking behind Elizabeth in the rafters. She opens the parcel she'd collected from the mailbox, then hears the killer behind her and flees. She runs into the sacristy, but is attacked by the killer. A knife is drawn. A candelabra is knocked over. The killer closes in. Franco bursts in and seizes the killer at the final moment. The killer is revealed to be Father James. Hidden identity of the killer until the final moments, 5 points. U is for undercover, 5 points. Extra points for P is for priest, for the priest being the killer, another 5 points. And crossdresser, 5 points. A lot has changed in 50 years, that's all I will say. The two men duke it out, knife versus candlestick. The knife is knocked free. The candlestick is dropped. The men clinch up. Franco gets some good licks in. A kindled candelabra falls, and Father James's vestments catch fire. Father James, fully immolated, falls from the balcony and crashes on the cobblestones below. Dead. The killer is killed by someone. 10 points. Someone dies by falling to their death. 15 points. The killer dies accidentally, extra points for falling, 10 points, and the killer is painfully or hilariously punished in their death scene, 12 points. Because if you don't think a guy falling to his death while on fire is funny, I think that's pretty funny. The press is reporting on the mystery being solved. R is for reporter, 5 points. De Donato all but takes all the credit for solving the murders. He says the newspaper clipping they found covering the story of the French girl's murder detailed an interrogation police had conducted with Father James. That connection was apparently too damning. De Donato states that Father James knew the jig was up and he took his own life. Well, useless police, 2 points. Franco and Elizabeth walk off, hand in hand, triumphant. As they leave on a boat, Koeman runs after them, proclaiming that Father James was revealed to not have been an actual priest this whole time. Let's add up some final cliches. S is for secrets, extra points for the killer having an impossible to predict motivation, 10 points. And that's Who Saw Her Die. Okay, yeah, so I really, really like this movie. It does have its issues, but ultimately it's still very enjoyable. I will say that, yes, even upon rewatching it, and I've seen this movie several times, it just does kind of drag a little bit. Sometimes it feels like, and this happens with several giallo films, but it feels like it is intentionally convoluted and a little extra, and even thinking about it now, there are some things which I can't recall really going anywhere. some people are made to look suspicious, but again, it doesn't really lead to anything. Why did Mr. Marchezzini make a phone call? Like, was that related to anything, or is it just made to make him look suspicious? Why did the shopkeeper make a phone call after Franco left? Was that just to make it look suspicious? Things like that, which kind of just don't really go anywhere. But besides that, I still love this movie. The music is incredible, and I do have to say that, yes, so I said I would talk about this. This is one of those giallo films that the moment the priest came up, I was like, okay, so that's the killer. Like I've said, we all know that 90% of the time, if they introduce a priest, it's going to be them. And we usually won't find out until the very end what their motivation is. And more oftentimes than not, the motivation is it's always the same. It's that they were trying to, especially if they're killing children, it's to preserve their innocence. It's to kill them before they become sinners, which becomes very tired after you've seen it numerous times in these movies. But anyways, let's segue to the GialliTally cliches for this movie. Post-giallo viewing cliches. The reason for the killing. Mental illness, psychopathy, or obsession. 7 points. The reason for the investigation. Revenge or obsession due to losing someone to the killer. 10 points. Extra points for Franco being an amateur sleuth. 5 points. Bonus points. The style bonus. The movie is dripping in style, but not to an over-the-top degree. We have a few zooms and at least one crash zoom. The editing is superb, especially the flashbacks stuttering in. The POV along with the shots of the veil over the camera is certainly unique. The couple mirror shots we get and the slow-mo and stutter for the final death. All in all, out of a maximum of 25 points possible, I will give Who Saw Her Die 15 points for its style bonus. Soundtrack. Yes, 15 points, and if I could, I would give this movie more. Bad effects. Yes, we have not one, but 2 fake bodies, and one of them is on fire. Full points here, 15 points. Final look, extra points. The Deadpool, tallying how many kills and deaths are featured in the film. I break it down as thus: 10 points per kill or death scene for the main Deadpool, plus any stylistic kill multipliers, which we didn't add yet, plus the knife kill bonus. We have the first girl, Nicole Dossier, bludgeoned, 15 points. Roberta, we don't see it, so 10 points. Ginevra, garroted, 13 points. Bonaiuti, impaled with scissors, 16 points. No, they are not a knife, although I did count the scissors as being blades. I just want to point that out, that I know what I'm doing, and I'm intentionally not counting it as a knife. Serafian, impaled with a cane sword, 16 points. And Father James, we already counted up the separate cliches for someone falling, as well as that someone being the killer, but I will include here that he was burned, so 18 points. Extended Deadpool for those other deaths mentioned but not seen. I'll give 3 points each. And we have the second girl murdered, Marinella Marchezzini, 3 points, and the infant who died of meningitis, 3 points. I was hesitant to include that one, but the way it is mentioned sounds less like a lie Father James made up and more like he actually was summoned to the hospital. red herrings for the total number of legitimate suspects in the film. 5 points per legit suspect are awarded. We have Bonaiuti, Serafian, Philip, Ginevra, Cuman, and Father James. 30 points for red herrings. Now, I could include the father that they talked to at the glassworks. I could include De Donato, but I just think he's completely incompetent is more of what it is. And I didn't include the father because I don't think he's really suspicious. I do think that the movie is kind of just throwing that out there like, oh, he made a phone call. What does this mean? But I don't think it means anything. Like, I never really suspected it was going to come back and it was going to be the father of the second girl murder. That just wouldn't really make any sense. Flashback sequences, 5 points each. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. 70 points for flashbacks. Nudity. I award 5 points for ass, 7 for breasts, and 10 for genitalia. We have, and I'd like to say right now that there is a lot of nudity that is photographs hanging on walls. Anyways, breasts, 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 everything. Ass, breasts, ass, breasts, ass and breasts, 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 breasts and frontal, breasts, breasts, breasts and ass, and breasts. 143 points for nudity. Ladies and gentlemen, for Who Saw Her Die, I awarded the film an AZ score of 19 out of 26. With the bonus points for these, we have a modified score total of 130 points. And for the full GialliTally score, I award Who Saw Her Die a GialliTally score of 825 points, compared to Short Night of Glass Dolls in first with 969 points, What Have You Done to Solange in second with 933 points, and The Case of the Bloody Iris in third with 830 points. Who Saw Her Die is in 5th place with 825 points. I predicted around 600 to 700 points. I even narrowed it down to 600 to 650. And, I really thought I was going to be in the ballpark there. I didn't think it was going to be so wild, but there's a lot of instances of nudity that I didn't really notice at first. All the posters and, the flashbacks weren't so bad, but also there was no knife kills, so there was no knife kill bonuses, but the movie used a lot of staples. There was way more AZ cliches than I thought, and yeah, a lot of nudity. But like I say, these points do not mean a movie is better or worse. Please like this video, share it with your friends if they are horror fans or cinephiles, subscribe to The King in Giallo if you haven't yet, and if you have any questions, thoughts, curiosities, or concerns, leave those below in the comments section and I will get back to you. Give The King in Giallo a follow on Instagram and a like on Facebook. Subscribe to The King in Giallo Patreon to see early access to the YouTube videos, exclusive video series that can only be found there, and to generally support what I do. Next time on The King in Giallo will be the continuation of the Forgotten Giallo film series, Episode 25, 1972, Part 4. Thank you very much for your continued support, and a special thank you to those who support me on Patreon. This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.
There was a little managed to catch him.
I don't think you can catch pneumonia.